address the Henry Ruggs incident first, because over the summer, like, my dad and I talked a lot about DUIs and, drinking and driving. And it can ruin a life, like not even for regular people like us. It goes on your permanent record and it stays there. And for Henry Ruggs, a guy who, he's always been looked at as a great teammate. In fact, one of his biggest motivations for playing football was a childhood friend that he lost due to drunk driving. It's a really sad story to see. I've been, keeping tabs on everything with it. I've been reading a lot about it. I even saw the video of him and his girlfriend kind of, holding each other's arms next to the fire. And obviously we do know that it was a 23-year-old woman and a dog that were kind of caught in the fire and obviously unfortunately passed away. And I'm sure all three of us are, praying for the victim's family, all the loved ones. And I also want to give a prayer to Henry Ruggs, just because I know what he did is unacceptable. And, DUIs and drunk driving, it's one of the worst things. And it's just so unfair to someone who's driving out there, right? Kind of late at night. And it's not even a fault of your own. And most of DUIs, it's actually, you're causing, someone else to suffer the consequences of your actions. And I think that's the worst part about it. It's, exactly why my parents are against driving late at night, just because of things like that. And, for that to happen, for an NFL player, obviously it's going to be portrayed in a bigger light because these things happen all the time, with, quote unquote, regular people. And, this one was just highlighted a lot bigger because of, the brand that Ruggs has been in. But I also wanted to give a shout out to Derek Carr. And I know this is not, directly tied in with the Ruggs situation, but just what he said, he had a press conference about it. And he basically said that Henry Ruggs, as again, what he did was unforgivable, but he just needs someone to be in his corner right now. He's still a human being, and he's had a lot of good. He's also had this one bad incident, but for someone like Derek Carr to kind of say that he will be with him, he will try and reach out to him, and he'll be there for him. I think that's something that is just I just have to tip my hat to him and applaud someone like that. And, that's just a true leader, a great human being, regardless of what he does on the football field. I thought that was just a great action. And, for Henry Ruggs, hopefully he can try and move past this, but, it's just a tough thing to hear about and see.
Unfortunately, I'm not like totally comfortable speaking on Henry Ruggs, so I'm going to keep it short. But I agree with you 100% on Derek Carr. He's one of the best leaders in football. And I think it really showed this weekend with the incident, how he addressed the media, how he was able, to kind of extend a helping hand to Henry Ruggs in a way. But, you're hoping he moves past this. This is an awful situation. Like, I'm also going to offer a prayer to Henry Ruggs just because this is something that can stay with you forever. And that video of him watching that car in flames, you could tell, like, he was in shock. He was in complete shock. And it was that at that moment, it's not that I, felt bad because it was totally his fault, but like, it's kind of, some sort of feeling of empathy. And it's some sort of feeling of, what if you were in that situation? You feel like you have nowhere to go. You're trapped in a corner. And that stuff is, it has to be valued in a way. So I appreciate Derek Carr for like saying all those words. And I think, he's the guy that Henry Ruggs has got to talk to, because even the night before he was talking to Derek Carr and Hunter Renfrow
about the golf swing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's unfortunate that the night had to end like that. And it's absolutely just an awful situation. Very terrible, but I'm gonna let Jack speak on it too.
Yeah, I mean, we can say it's an unfortunate situation. We can offer prayers up to Henry Ruggs, but the harsh reality is it was a completely avoidable, fatal mistake that Henry Ruggs made. I mean, I know that we focus obviously about football on the podcast every week, but I don't think the focus should be with Henry Ruggs right now. And I know we can say good job for Derek Carr to have empathy for him, and Henry Ruggs needs someone there for him right now. But the truth is he was the cause of someone else's death. And that's kind of where our empathy, I think, mostly needs to lie right now, because Henry Ruggs is the one that's still alive coming out of that crash. And
100%.
He can afford an Uber. He can, he's a smart enough person to know not to drive home drunk. And this mistake is, you wish it doesn't happen, but the truth is it did. And Henry Ruggs needs to be held accountable for that. And the Raiders, I think, have done their part. They released him, I believe, yesterday. I don't know where they kind of go for this, because for the Raiders, this is just too absolutely massive things that have happened to this team in the course of the last 3 to 4 weeks. They've lost their head coach, and now they've lost their first round pick from last year. And they still have to find a way to go out and play football games for the
Agreed.
second half of this season. So
I think the Raiders, I think to touch on that, right? Those two incidents, right? And I think also, that like to see them 5-2 and still kind of going on, that's just, again, tremendous, kind of props to them. But, to touch on the release of Ruggs, I think what the Raiders simply said was, this is not a football matter right now.
Yeah.
This is a legit, criminal offense. This is a felony. And, that is not something that the Raiders should have to handle or should have to, speak on for the rest of the season, or even as, how long Ruggs was supposed to be on the team. So I think the release was completely justified, and I totally agreed with it. And you're right, Jack. I think, empathy should go towards the family, because that is just a brutal way to lose, a loved one, two technically with the dog. Right. And ironically, we all went to the same high school, and something like that actually happened a few months back. It was a hit and run, and there was a car who, crashed into someone and killed, I believe it was a girl. I believe it was right on the street across our high school. So, it's not the first time we've heard about something like this, all three of us. And, unfortunate as it is, it certainly won't be the last. But, it just goes to show, and I'm glad, the NFL community at least has kind of been exposed to it now, right? Like, this is a serious problem, and, it needs to be handled. So I'm just glad that the Raiders kind of, said that this is not a football matter. I think that's what they did with this move. And I think that's a good way to conclude it.